Hey folks, welcome to my channel number 10. So there we have the problem on our screen. Differentiate the following: y equal to sine inverse of 1 minus x squared divided by 1 plus x squared, right? So we have an inverse function here, and I want to draw your attention to the formula what we have for inverse of sine, right? So let's write that down. So dy dx of sine inverse of x is nothing but 1 divided by root of 1 minus x squared, right? So this is a formula that we have from first principles, and again, like how we are expected to remember sine, cos, it will be a useful formula to know by heart. D by dx of sine inverse of x equals 1 by square root of 1 minus x square, right? And with this, it becomes a lot simpler to solve this particular problem. And why is that? We're going to solve it by the method of substitution. And by now, we are quite familiar with what is that substitution we will have to do, right? I'm going to simplify my y, reduce it to the simplest possible expression whose derivative I'm familiar from first principles. So what is my y now? My y is nothing but sine inverse of u, right? So I write it as it is. Y equals sine inverse of u, which means I can figure out what is my dy by du, right? So if my y equals sine inverse of u, my dy by du equals nothing but 1 by square root of 1 minus u square, right? So this is what I have. And then let me highlight this with my usual color. And then I've been asked to find dy by dx, right? So my dy by dx, I will apply the chain rule to solve this particular problem. But before that, we will have to figure out what is my du by dx, right? So let's write that down as well. And what is my du by dx, right? And you'll have to excuse me, folks. I'm gonna skip the steps where I do the substitution. So I'm skipping a couple of interim steps because by now I assume that you guys are quite familiar with how to approach a problem using quotient rule, right? So the way we do this is square the denominator, and then I whatever I have in the denominator, I write it as it is. And then I differentiate my numerator. 1 minus x squared d by dx of 1 minus x squared is minus 2x. I have a minus, and now I differentiate what I have in the denominator with respect to x. My d by dx of the denominator, which is 1 plus x squared, is nothing but 1 2x, and then I write my numerator as it is, which is 1 minus x squared, right? So this is what I get, and this leads me to, let me move to the next step to avoid confusion and rewrite my du by dx, right? This is what I have. My du by dx post cancellation of 2x cube works out to be minus 4x because I have a minus 2x and a minus 2x, and my 2x cube term gets cancelled. And then I write my denominator as it is, right? So my du by dx is nothing but minus 4x divided by 1 plus x square, the whole square. So I have my du by dx now. I have my dy by du as well. And all that I need to do is a simple application of chain rule to arrive at my final answer, right? So what's my final answer? So let's write down the next step. What is my dy by dx, right? So my dy by dx from chain rule is nothing but a dy by du, which is highlighted in green, multiplied by a du by dx, which is highlighted in yellow, right? So I directly pick the yellow and the green expressions what I have, and that becomes my final answer. So this is what I have as my final answer. But then what I notice is my answer is in terms of u and x, right? So I've been asked to find dy by dx, so my final answer has to be represented in terms of x, right? So which means my u, I go back to this substitution what I made originally, which is this substitution, right? So I'm going to highlight this in turquoise, and then I'm going to put back my u in the form of x, right? So let's see what do we get. I have a 4x in the numerator. I have a minus 4x in the numerator, and then I do square root of 1 minus u square. So this is what I have, and I'm going to move to the next step because this is getting a lot messy if I continue to do that in the same line. So my dy by dx equals, I know that so I have a minus 4x. I'm going to simplify the expression within the square root, right? So I'm going to open my square root, and when I do a cross multiplication, I get a 1 plus x square the whole square minus 1 minus x square the whole square, right? And then my 1 plus x square the whole square root of that, I put it back in the numerator out here, right? So I have a 1 plus x square in the numerator now. And then I have a 1 plus x square the whole square still with me, which is, available to cancel with what we just put in our numerator, of course, one of them. And then I'm going to expand my expression within the square root, right? So within the square root, I have 1 plus x square the whole square minus 1 minus x square the whole square, right? So what does that actually mean? It is of the type a square minus b square, right? So I'm not going to expand it using the a plus b whole square formula, but I'm going to expand it using a square minus b square formula, right? So let's write that down. So I can pull out my pencil and I can cancel out one of the 1 plus x square, right? So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove this with this, right? So what do I get? I get minus 4x divided by 1 plus x square, because I've cancelled out the other x square term. And then what do we do with the term inside the square root, right? So my 1 plus x square the whole square minus of 1 minus x square the whole square is nothing but a square minus b square, which is a minus b into a plus b, right? So what is my a minus b? My a minus b is 1 plus x square minus of 1 minus x square, right? Which becomes 1 plus x square minus of 1 minus x square becomes again a plus here. So I will have, this is my one part of the expression, which is my a minus b. And then my a plus b becomes 1 plus x square plus 1 minus x square, which becomes a 2, right? So this is what I have. And so I go to the next step. Again, write my dy by dx, and we more or less arrived at what we want to, which is our final answer. I have my numerator as minus 4x, and then I have a 1 plus x squared in the denominator. And the next step would be to figure out what we have inside the square root, right? So what do we have inside the square root? Our 1 and 1 gets cancelled out, and then we have an x square plus x square, which becomes a 2x square. So let me open up my root, and then we have a 2x square into 2, which makes it, which becomes a 4, right? And what is my square root of 4? X square is nothing but, my square root of 4x square is nothing but 2x, right? So I'm left with minus 4x divided by 2x into 1 plus x square, right? Which means my x gets cancelled out, and I can cancel out the 2 in the denominator with 4 in the numerator, and I'm left with minus 1 divided by, I'm sorry, minus 2 divided by 1 plus x square. So that's my final answer. I'm going to highlight it in pink. So my final answer to this problem is dy by dx equals minus 2 divided by 1 plus x square. I hope you found this content useful. Please do subscribe to my channel and support. Thank you.